Harrigan. Here. And Faith Ham.
Here. Rise for the pledge.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Right. First order of business is a review of the minutes of our February 13th, 2023 meeting. I think we've all had a chance to go through them. Do I have a motion to accept the minutes?
So.
Okay, discussion. Do you have anything to add or change? I don't either. So, all those in favor, our motion is approval of the minutes. All those in favor say aye. Aye. None opposed.
Just so we could get that on the
Let's
record.
breeze through that one. Hey, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
That was, okay, so new business. We are going to open with a overview of the program Signs of Suicide, and it's in place at Dodd Middle School, so I'm going to hand it over to Marlene Solano to discuss it, to introduce it.
Sure. So as part of legislation, right, as part of some of the requirements, we need to have a suicide prevention program in place at our schools, and that takes on various forms. Currently, there have been some lessons from the health teachers, but Dodd is recently looking to reinvigorate that and strengthen the type of lessons that we're providing to the students. So Mike Woods and Jessica Tressel from Dodd Middle School are here to talk a little bit more about the program.
Stay seated again. So thank you very much. We're just going to take a few minutes of your time just to kind of roll through a little bit of a slide deck just to inform you about what Signs of Suicide is, the need for it at middle school, and we'll talk a little bit about the articulation of the program as it goes up to Cheshire High School as well. So this particular program from MindWise, Signs of Suicide, was something that we had actually were introduced to right before the shutdown, the fall. I remember we were sitting in here with Cheshire Youth Services, introducing two programs, one to the middle school, one to the high school. Shutdown came and went, and we've been a little busy since, but this is a great time for us to reinvigorate this program for the middle school kids. So tonight we just want to talk to you a little bit about the need, some prevention basics. We're going to talk a little bit about what the program actually is the acronym ACT, Acknowledge, Care, and Tell, and then what to do when your child, support for parents, if your child is talking about students who are looking to harm themselves, building some coping skills, and then talking a little bit about some resources as well.
So this is a visual of like the complex factors that go into somebody having suicidal thoughts. It's never just one particular thing. It's a cube of different things. And what's important to know is that all of these are preventable. Suicide is 100% preventable. And this is ways that we can prevent it. As parents, as caregivers, and people of this community, we all play essential roles in helping our kids learn preventative factors, who to talk to, who are their trusted people, coping skills. And again, there's not just one thing that helps. It's a complex issue of several things.
And over the years, I can say we have put these supports in place for members of our school community, for families, also partnering with Cheshire Youth Services. A lot of these approaches and ways in which we can prevent, we've tried different programs that highlight maybe one or two of these things. In the reviewing of the program from MindWise, the fact that it had all of these coping mechanisms there was really powerful for us.
And
So, so one of the things in which we want to deal with not only students who are actually in that intense emotional pain, but also their classmates, their friends. Because what we do see a pattern with from time to time is that students through Gaggle are writing some letters. We just had one, I think it was probably about 3 weeks ago, where a student was writing a letter to a friend. more or less saying goodbye. You know, we got that call, I can tell you exactly, it was on Super Bowl Sunday. We got that call from a student and was right in touch. Cheshire PD had gone to the house for a wellness check and those types of things. Great that this, you know, the student is back in school full time, has gone through some of their IOP care as well. But being able to go to the student who he was writing a letter for, being able to talk to that student about that intense emotional pain being put onto their shoulders. So a great thing about this as well is managing, not only managing the reactions, but also teaching all students how to be able to handle that pain coming to them and what they can do to help support a friend in need.
We're also recognizing that we don't want anybody to be experts. Nobody's supposed to play therapist with this. This is really just a roadmap on what kids can do when they are faced with these circumstances, because reality is they are faced with them on a daily basis. And a lot of them think that the best way to support their friends is to be that therapist, but it's not appropriate. So this is actually the acronym that the kids will learn, which is ACT, which is acknowledge, and it's through various videos. So the kids will get 3 videos with discussion, and then it will play out acknowledging your friend's hurt, your friend's pain, just being able to see them, showing them that they're care, and then together trying to find a trusted adult. Who that trusted adult is for them to decide. Maybe it's an older cousin, maybe it's a teacher, maybe it's a counselor, maybe it's their parent. And even that adult does not need to be an expert either, they just need to be in contact with someone who is.
And really one of the things, not that we put everything in here with it, but the one thing that I liked about it is that it really was almost a roadmap for support for their friends. So it's not just stuck with them and they don't know what to do with it. So it really did a nice job in doing a roadmap for that.
So this just talks a little bit about protective factors, what parents can do, what caregivers can do, but the biggest one is promoting open lines of communication. You know, a lot of the times when I sit down with kids, we sit and talk about different coping skills that work for them along with who are their people. And as long as they can feel comfortable going to somebody and saying, hey, I'm not feeling right, that's really the biggest protective factor that we find. And a lot of times that's what we do here at school is build that connection. Somebody comes to us, we communicate, we get them in touch with services and get their parents on board so that they're aware and can be the best support for them.
And I think what we've kind of alluded to before, it's these coping skills to help people deal with those unpleasant feelings and hard times. It also gives almost like a health program for kids to understand that when they are feeling that way, here are some things that you could do for yourself that kind of gets you through that hump. So whether it be something of the physical aspect of exercise and diet, all the way to journaling, about keeping that open, as Jess said, keeping that open line of communication with friends and family, doing some of those favorite things that you like to do, listening to music or whatever the case may be. So there is that component as well to educate kids about their own emotions as well.
So this is a little guide for caregivers. We recognize that, especially at middle school age, it's incredibly difficult to get this age group to open up, especially to the people in their homes. So these are just roundabout ways of, opening up lines of communication that aren't that direct question. Going out for a walk, playing a game, getting ice cream, just some tips. The beauty of this program is that it's really community focused. It's focused on how somebody can support themselves and a friend, that's a young person. It's also has a bunch of resources for the caregivers at home and how they can support them. There's also a whole element for teachers on how they can be empowered. So it's really full circle.
I think as you self-reflect too, I'm sure some of these strategies, they've been around for a while, and I know a few of those work for even my own daughter.
So what you see here are the 2 leading causes of death in teens. But what you notice over the past 15 years is that accidents have decreased over the years. So what has happened in order to decrease that? Well, better cars, better vehicles, better kids are going to driving school, the limits of driving with people has changed. So all of these things has helped decrease teen accidents. So what Signs of Suicide is trying to do is follow this same model. This is our attempt to try to decrease teen suicides because it really is preventable. And opening up lines of communication, taking away the stigma are ways that can lower this.
Another thing with the Signs of Suicide program is that there is a tremendous amount of resources for parents. We're going to be sending out a parent email in the next day or so that has a little bit about the details. We put the scheduling in there as well. And I thought that the resources that were there and their approach that they were taking with parents were pretty reasonable, realistic. So, and there was a lot of support, not only from like just the infographics, the presentations and slide decks. They have a whole entire section that is directly just for parents as well. So this is not about just training our teachers and our students and our professional staff, but also our community members about how to support that, how to recognize it, and then also who they can go and tell as well.
So we were very intentional with when we were planning this rollout. We are starting with older kids first, so all of 8th grade will get it first. First, we're informing the staff what to expect. They're going to be rolled out through social studies classes. It's one lesson, and it will hit one team a week. So the first team will get it, and then we did it either a Tuesday or a Wednesday. We did that on purpose so that kids will get reminders when they come in on Monday or Tuesday. There's like a couple weeks there where we have Monday off. We don't want any surprises. We don't want kids to be shocked when they walk into a class and have this topic. We recognize that this is a difficult topic, and for some it can be very personal. So we are offering an opt-out option for families that feel their child is just not in the place to participate in such a conversation. The reason we are doing one team at a time is that we want to allow for follow-up. Typically, when you deliver things of this nature, there could be an uptick of reporting, and we want to be available and ready for any and all students that come forward. All of PPS will be delivering this as a team approach, so it's not overwhelming on top of all of our other responsibilities.
So kind of just giving you some calendar dates. We're here this evening, but we're also going to be rolling out information to the faculty. Wednesday, we have a little bit of a staff resource training. We're going to be sending out parent communication. We have a teacher information session. We have a parent information session. And then we have when the lessons start. The lessons are starting here in March. We'll run through right before April break. And then we'll pick it up after ESPA summative assessments in May for 7th grade. So we can kind of avoid some of that as well. So.
And suicide is a heavy topic, but the way that the lesson is delivered is it does really end on the message of that this is 100% preventable. With a lot of the last couple of slides are around coping strategies and healthy living. So it ends on a really nice message that hopefully is received by the kids.
Any questions?
So I thought the most powerful slide was that graph showing accidents and going way down
Yeah.
to come to meet the second highest
Yeah.
team, which means that we haven't been doing a good job to date on the prevention aspects of the suicides. But anyways, so I think that it's really powerful that that is shown to parents as well.
Yeah.
But my question is that accidents? Is that purely just car accidents?
I think different types of accidents. So we took a look at, when we were trying to research that infographic because it came with it,
Yeah.
the cars and automobiles was the predominant one that was featured in that.
It's such a big part of that accidents.
Yeah.
That it's,
And like Jess said, between legislation of reducing kids in cars themselves being safer, those types of things, we did see part of the decline in that. They didn't really go into great detail about beyond
yeah.
automobile.
I like that whole prevention focus on it.
And I think especially at the middle school level, it's the prevention, you're kind of the training of yourself, but also the classmates one is a big thing that we deal with a lot at the middle school, where kids are hearing about their friends saying things that they don't know what to do with. So,
Yeah. And that's
Well,
what we
it's
lean on
really
the
just
most.
giving them permission to be able to say something if they
Yes.
feel it's
There is this false idea that So if they'll be taken away from their family, they'll go to like a crazy house, like these are the things that come up in their head. So it's just so important for us to kind of break down that barrier and be like, it's okay for us to have these conversations. This is how we get healthier, this is how we get better.
And I think encouraging community members, parents to have those conversations with their kids, because a lot of the reaction we get from kids is, you can't tell my parents.
Right.
Don't tell my parents, don't call them. You know, and I think that's something where if kids know and that their parents have spoken to them about this type of, this type of thing, if you are feeling this intense emotional pain, it's okay, we love you, we're gonna support you. I think that's really an important message to come from parents as well, break down that barrier a little bit.
Or even the kids knowing that the schools are in contact, that the
Right.
parents and the schools are all in tandem.
Yeah, it takes a
on this
village.
topic. Yeah.
So I noticed that the graph data were from 2014 and 2016. Do you have any more recent? Because I get the sense that this issue is probably even more intense than,
Oh, yeah, with the,
so, I don't know. I mean, to me, 8.7 is high, but I would have thought it would have been higher.
yeah, it is a little outdated, the data, and I agree with your thinking as well.
Yeah.
This is the data from the Signs of
Yeah.
Suicide company.
Yep.
It
Yeah.
might be worth asking them if they have anything updated.
Recurrent.
But, and you can also probably pull them out of the Department of Health
Yep.
vital statistics, just, especially if it reinforces the point, even better. But is there any say you're working with the kids and you get one of those, don't tell my parents, but I'm about to do it. What kinds of confidentiality rules are you obligated to follow?
So, anything around safety, we have to inform families.
Okay,
And that's, that when I'm talking to a child, that's kind of like the first meeting I have with them, so they know.
okay,
And in my experience, if a child is telling you that, they want help.
yeah.
Yeah, for sure. So it's not a question whether we contact family or not. That's never
It's part of the ethics training
Yes.
that
Yeah.
all mental health staff receive as part of their work.
Okay, good. And then, why social studies, not health?
So we have it in health class as well. It's a smaller component of that. I think just working through our core classes, the way our schedule is set up, try and roll this out in a meaningful, reasonable timeframe. It just works out that if we did it through a core class, because they meet every day,
Right,
so it's
okay.
more logistics, it's not about the topic or anything.
Okay,
And another component is the team teachers really get to know their kids.
yeah,
And doing it on a team allows for them to be able to see like, that's kind of a shift in behavior, or they're doing some different stuff this week. And it can alert us to pay more attention as well.
okay. And then you've got 3 classes per, how long, and these are how long?
They're like 45 minutes, they're one
45
class.
minutes? And each is devoted to a specific, did I miss that?
Yep, it'll be
My
the same.
close listening skills are as bad
That's
as my
fine.
close reading
So it'll be the
skills.
same, for every color that you see on the letter, there's 4 classes. So red is going first, there'll be
Mhm.
4 social studies classes, about 25 or so, we have about 100 kids per
But the
team.
topics,
The same
Per
lesson,
class.
just repeat.
Same lesson repeats.
One lesson.
one
One lesson.
lesson repeats, okay.
Yep.
All right, okay. And then how old is this program?
I don't know, that's a great question.
Signs of Suicide has been around for quite some time. I
Yeah.
don't know when they originated, but I recall from decades ago.
Okay.
Okay. Okay. No, that's good, thank
Kevin's
you.
on the Google. I was
Got
gonna
it.
check it out.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah.
Russ was on.
Well, thank you very much, I appreciate your time, everyone.
Thank you both. Thank you, guys.
Thank you. Okay. Next up is a review of the educator evaluation plan. And this is from the state. This is, you're going to talk.
So you may recall that we've talked every year now for the last couple of years about the Educator Eval program, and we've been implementing these, they've given us some guidelines so that we're not implementing the same program that we were doing years ago. So we've talked often about following these guidelines and applying to the state to utilize them. In the meantime, the state has been looking at a new teacher evaluation program. They have spent some time bringing groups together. They have held meetings for about 2 years now, and we haven't heard anything definitive about the plan. But we know that it's coming, and we thought it was about time that we pull our Cheshire Evaluation Committee together to decide what's going to be right for Cheshire. And we are hearing that the state should be coming out with their plan probably by next spring. So we thought it was a good idea to start looking at it now to decide. We believe, the word I was looking for is flexibilities. The state has allowed us some flexibilities so that they're looking at more frequent informal evaluations rather than these planned formal evaluations. So as part of this work, we invited a well-known educator, a renowned speaker, author, and expert, Kim Marshall from the Boston area, who's written a number of books and is published extensively on teacher evaluation. And we invited him to come to Cheshire last week, and he spent the day here. He met with our administrative team in the morning and for about 2 hours and shared about the Marshall Plan. And then he met with about 27 teachers from all across the district and shared the plan with teachers. And it was a partially interactive session where we got to say what was most impactful to us as educators in being a part of getting better, right? And what is impactful of our evaluation. And formal evaluation came up the lowest as being impactful. I don't know if anyone else knows this, but I was very impressed with how many people said professional development also was very impactful. And Kevin and I took that as a good sign, that maybe we're trending in the right direction. But it really was trending towards more frequent and very brief evaluation. So this is just one option that we're looking at. I think most people felt positively about it, but this is something that we need to further explore. It would look like the administrator or the evaluator spending time in classrooms every month, so not just twice a year, but really an impetus to get in for 10 minutes into all of those classrooms about once a month. So we're looking at, okay, is this feasible for our administrators? How does this feel for our teachers? And he really maps it out in such a way that makes it seem like this could be doable. So we need to come back. There were significant questions that we need to follow up on. So we'll be having another meeting before the end of the school year to really delve a little bit more into that. But this is a part of the process. We want to weigh all of our options and really select the plan that's going to be most beneficial to the teachers and the administrators here in town. We wanted to make sure we were letting you all know along the way, because eventually, depending on which plan we go with, we will need to share that with you. The board would need to approve it, and then we would put in an application to the state for approval for the plan here in Cheshire.
So which administrators would act as evaluators?
All of us act as evaluators. So every principal, every assistant principal, our special education supervisors, our director, Kevin, Ryan, myself, we all have a number of people that we evaluate. I'm going to say on average, it ranges about 20 per person.
Does it include like grants or?
Yes,
They get evaluated?
they do.
Yeah, okay.
Everyone who is a certified teacher, anybody who has a certification is evaluated. Yep.
Okay.
And going back to the flexibility from the state, do we know how flexible, or can you get a sense of how flexible they're gonna be? Or are we gonna get 6 canned programs and say, you do this? Sorry.
I so appreciate the humor. We don't know. We don't know. There is some information on the website with minutes to their meetings, and they looked at a teacher evaluation program in Mansfield. They looked at one in Farmington, they looked at the program, I think, in Massachusetts, and one other that I can't recall off the top of my head. So, what's that?
Mansfield.
I said Mansfield. So those are some of the ones, some of the models that their committee evaluated, which is made up of, you know, teachers from across the state.
Good.
So more to come on that, we'll keep you
Yeah,
posted.
that's great. All right, so now, old business, the highlight of the evening. Field trips. So we're gonna start with Germany.
They just make me sad, because I want to go on all of them.
Do you want me to go up front or?
Whatever you're comfortable with.
Everything, I just want to be able to see you. This trip has been going on since 1983.
Wow.
Ginger Swan, she's the one who started it way back when. And the only time we've had a lapse in having this exchange was 9/11 and then COVID. And I was in talks with the Germans over the summer, and we both wanted to definitely get this program up and running again. So I suggested that we might be able to come this summer. So that's why I'm looking to go in August, and then they would come here fall of 2024, and then continue on our every 2 years. So we go there, they come here, we go there, we go here. So I would very much like to get this program up and running again. The reason why we would go in August is because we always go when they're in school, but we're not in school. And because German states change their summer vacations every year, so as not to overwork the Autobahn, so they stagger their summer vacations.
Interesting.
So I would go in August, and then in the following years, it would always be in June, which is a little bit better going right after school ends. So their school starts August 6th, so hence my wanting to go then, and then, of course, I need to be back to start school here.
That's right.
So that's why those dates.
Okay.
I'm looking to take 10 to start it off with, 10 to 12 at the most, just to, you know, get it rolling again. Aer Lingus is flying out of Bradley again, thank goodness. So I'm so excited because we can just fly right out of Bradley, no need to take a bus to JFK. The parents bring their children to Bradley, we all meet, I get on the plane with them, we go through customs in Dublin, coming back. It's just such a nice, convenient, and we can fly into Düsseldorf, which is about a 40-minute drive north of Cologne. So the host families drive and pick their students up.
Great.
And then I go to school with them every day when they're in school. We also take day trips together. One thing new this year is on August 16th, they are having their school-wide hiking day. So all of our students would be able to join them on that. So all 500 kids go off into the woods, hike, and have a campfire and eat lunch together, and then hike back to the school.
That's great.
And the students live with families. They live with families. I'm on call 24 hours. I do, you know, I have my cell phone, it works over there. And the kids are usually savvier than I am with using their cell phones over in Germany. But I am on call 24 hours. I send home pictures to the parents. A lot of times the parents will call me and say, is everything okay? It's like, I haven't heard from my child. I haven't seen from my child in like 3 to 4 days. Is it okay? I'm like, oh yeah, she's having a blast.
So the kids can contact their parents
Oh.
on their cell phones?
Absolutely.
When they're away?
Yeah. The families understand that.
This is great. And so is there any, what do you need from the district, if anything? No, this-
Permission to go.
I think that should probably be pretty easy. Okay, this is great. Do we want to just vote on a package, or do we have to vote on each one?
Vote on them all, I think you've seen the rest, so.
And it's just a vote to send it to the whole board, right?
Yes.
I was just explaining to these guys, I was in Cologne, probably 20 years ago. God, could that be? And that, the cathedral reminded me something out of Fantasia, the dark.
Yes.
Is it Stravinsky's, or, I don't know whose composition it was, but.
It's a very impressive.
Have they cleaned it?
Yeah, actually, it's an ongoing thing. If you ever want a permanent job in Germany, become a stonemason, because they start one end, and then you can spend your lifetime just restoring the cathedral, and that's what they have people do. They just keep going around year after year.
Wow. That's right, it's an interesting city for sure. So, okay, and do we want to review these other ones, or we
Well, I
probably
know that
should.
if you have any questions, I know that we've got some folks here who can answer those questions. But we did talk about Costa Rica,
Yeah.
Puerto Rico, and Iceland.
Yeah.
But should you have any questions, you've got the people who will have boots on the ground in those countries.
I do. Do you? No. Okay, so,
Can I just
yeah.
ask Kristen another question about this one?
Sure.
So they're going to school, which is mostly in German?
All in German.
Except for
It's a-
English class.
Correct. It's a big shock for
Then
them.
we start.
Yeah, they get very scared, but then after the first day or two, they're like, oh, what you're teaching us isn't a lie. They actually, we're actually using this language.
Yeah.
Reinforcement. But no, they take part in class, and it's a wonderful experience for them to see a whole different school system,
Yeah.
because cell phones are banned in schools there. So that is a big shock for them at first.
Take notes.
Seriously. You know, and just the way they dress and how classes are run. So yes, they do take part in the classes. They don't have to do any work, they just sit and absorb. And, you know, the teachers know when we're there that they're gonna use their Americans to get their impression and practice their English as well. And I just sit in the teacher's room all day, in case the students have questions or need me for anything.
Is there a level that they should be at?
Sophomores on up,
So that would be German 2?
German 2, yeah, actually probably 3, because right now I would like to stick with my upper levels, because they're the ones who got denied the trip 2 years ago, or 2 or 3 years ago, so they get like first dibs on going. But usually it's German 2 on up.
Okay. So I need a motion to accept these 4 trips to Germany, August 6th through 9th, 2023, Costa Rica, April 5th through 13th, 2024, Puerto Rico, April 6th through 12th, 2024, and Iceland, April 6th through 13th, 2024.
So,
Any discussion?
I just wanted to ask, so the dates have been all adjusted
Yes.
to fall during the April break?
Yes.
And the Costa Rica trip does go on.
Great.
The 9-day trip.
That's all I have.
Okay. So the motion is to approve the 4 field trips. Do I, all in favor?
Yes.
Okay. Your names? Okay, thanks, everybody.
Thank you.
Yay.
Thank you guys.
Easy.
I was ready to talk about mine too.
I'm sorry. Yours was so fascinating though. I just held a bonus.
Yeah, you should have. We can go back, I can resend it, we can start all over. I'm good.
Sarah would be happy.
Okay, okay.
Thank you.
I will just mention, and I think our board members know, but we're looking to have our calendar committee meet in the fall, because we always need to wait until the board approves that calendar to do this type of work. And I know many of you were eager to get this on the agenda for 2024. So hopefully we are a little more in line if we have that meeting in, say, November instead of February.
We aim to please.
Meeting to please.
All right.
How can we make your lives easier?
Hey, if we get over 20 kids, we need another chaperone.
Yeah.
And you are more than welcome to sit through this scintillating meeting, so we only have one more thing to go, but, okay, so next up, just informational, it has some informational items. The Cheshire update, on the Cheshire High School master schedule, how are we doing there?
Well, we are still.
And all ears on this one.
The committee has, so you'll get a preview before I come to you. The committee has heard the teachers and the students, and overwhelmingly, we're gonna stay with the current schedule for next year. However, because of some of the responses that had some strength, we wanna tweak the length of classes a little bit and tweak the frequency a little bit. So we've come up with a couple of options, and we're working through them on the committee to pilot next year, and we would work that pilot right into our schedule. So we're thinking October is a possibility that we would pilot that option and then make a definitive decision. Will we continue on or make that adjustment? And we make that decision by December. So that's where we are.
So it's remaining a block schedule, but last one you said you were going to adjust some of those blocks.
And what the committee decided was, after we played with that schedule, they said, let's not enact that next year. Let's wait and pilot it, and then make a determination after everyone has lived it and really tested it to see if that's definitively where we want to go. So that's what we're going to do next year.
So I'm all for testing, I really am. Are there any inherent risks with testing this on the kids and in the classroom?
So it doesn't change the time of the
So
school
it's not
day
going
or
to change
anything?
any time in the school day, it would be just shifting the length of classes. What the proposal, the one that's getting the most traction is taking our existing advisory schedule, which we already live, exact same times, but the classes are a little bit shorter, and we have a 40-minute advisory, utilizing that. This is where it gets complicated, and you really need a visual, but I see it in my head, but you won't. And cycling through all 8 periods, utilizing that, so that it really increases the number of class meeting times. But we want to run that cycle through, so it would take us 8 days to do that. And we would just try that out, see how it felt, because right now teachers are teaching 4 classes, 3 or 4 in a day. So this would add a class out of the traditional rotation into a day. So and we would do an odd, even, and then the additional section that needs would be opposite that, so that you would hit your class multiple times, if that makes sense to you. I'll show you a visual.
Okay.
But that's where the committee landed, that it's very familiar,
Yeah,
and we would just,
give us a little bit more contact time.
Okay.
but not undermine the strength of the time, because resoundingly, it was so important to maintain that meeting time and that collaboration time, and to go to depth. So, and that's for both the kids and the teachers. We're really listening to what the kids first. and what they say.
So we will eventually have to vote on this, correct? No?
No, you won't vote on it, but it'll be informational so that this group is kept informed of that. The schedule at any of the schools isn't for board approval, but we want to make sure that everyone is fully aware of what's happening and keep everyone, including the community, the teachers, the kids, in the know.
Okay. All right, thank you. And then, last item on informational items, the Right to Read Act waiver.
I'm going to give each of you a copy of the 9 questions or 9 sections that we were asked to go into detail about our current K-3 reading program. And as we mentioned before, Kevin Hanlon, Pat Castle, Anne-Marie Wintenberg have all been working on that steadily throughout the entire fall, and eventually hit the submit button on February 27th. You'll see in this document that there are specific excerpts directly from our curriculum that highlight how we are meeting all of the components of what's being called as, or labeled as the science of reading. We recently learned that 98 other districts submitted a waiver.
Happy reading.
And
They deserve it.
I'm also going to, I have only one copy of this, but this is the information, the data that we submitted about our K through 3 progress, as well as a little bit about our district strategy and how this grounds the work that we're doing. And I'll turn it over to Kevin because I'm sure he can add significant detail. He's been living and breathing this all fall.
So on the full report, you've got enough information there that it should be relatively self-explanatory. You can see that we took right from our curriculum documents, and anything that was more than a page, we put in appendices in the back. So total of 60 or 61 pages in total. The data that you see there, the top page, and I think I started to describe this at our last meeting, the state is looking for any time we have greater than 20 students who are substantially deficient in certain areas of reading. And we report it directly on assessments that we give for that. And you can see if the number was less than 20, it shows up as an NA on that document. And you can see the vast majority of that document is NAs. And on the few spots that aren't, we're charged with saying where there are discrepancies in the data, what is your action plan to address those discrepancies? So even for the data that does populate, there aren't significant discrepancies. There's not more than, say, a 4% difference in any of our subgroups. So we don't have a significant amount of discrepancies. As the state has defined it, when we look at our own internal data, we still have students that we believe ought to be, who can't yet read in the way that we would like them to. So we don't have all students yet. So the plan that Marlene showed is just our strategy for helping get all of our students on board. And those really relate back to our big district initiatives that you've heard us speak about for a long time. That relates back to our definition of early instruction, our work around complex thinking, social emotional learning, and work to meet the needs of all students, including those on the margins. So, behind that first page on the data, this is the raw data, and I gave it to you in two views. One that is just slightly more zoomed in that takes off the, yes, you put in all correct data, and the other just has that validation.
So we shared this information.
It's a beautiful document.
Thank you, Ann.
Should self-publish.
We shared this information during what we call our building level reps meetings. So we have a meeting once in the fall and once in the spring where we meet with a representative group of teachers from every grade level, from every building, because we wanted to make them aware of the legislation, our response, and what needed to happen. We really did not want to panic teachers about the state was asking us to change our reading program until we have to go there, but we want them to be aware that this is coming and all that we're doing, and how much we really believed in our reading curriculum. So I think they were appreciative, and we know that there are some minor tweaks that we need to make, just with some updates to the additions of assessments that we're currently using. But I would say that we've certainly gotten the word out to our own teachers in that March meeting that we had.
And, you know, my initial reaction was, sort of anger, a little bit of anger and annoyance that the state is making our personnel do this. Is a lot of work. But, it's not a bad thing for us to have this documented this way for our purposes, to show our people, and if parents want to know how this is.
I think Kevin is Woods has said many times that we have over 3,000 pages of documentation for our K-3 reading program, for our curriculum. And so what we were able to do there was to really pick some examples of how we're articulating that kindergarten through third grade. And this process has only made me prouder of the work that has been going on in Cheshire for, over a decade.
Digestible 60 pages.
Right.
It did affirm that the foundation of the curriculum for a long time has really been based on research in the science of reading. It further affirmed that the work that we've done over the last few years to draw that out and make it more accessible and routine for teachers and students is barking up the right tree. And our next plans are all in line with tweaks, so it was a pending review from the state and the feedback from the state. I don't want to put any cart before horses, but it was a pretty strong validation of what we have as a written curriculum document. And of course you see in there that this is the written curriculum for professional development and the continual coaching to make sure that this is playing out in the classroom from day one is really part of the work. And we take some time to note that in several places throughout the document. So we've got a strong foundation and making sure instruction is happening in all the ways that we want it to happen is the real part of the work. We're on a solid
Yeah,
foundation.
so thank you, and thank everyone who is involved in putting all this together. It really is quite powerful, very worthwhile.
Did you come up with any surprises in here? I mean, these numbers, were you expecting them, for example, in your first grade, 13.4%?
That's data that we look at on a very regular basis.
Okay.
So we're looking at that monthly, if they're monthly assessments, we're looking at it 4 times a year quarterly. If it's quarterly, we are looking at that always. And then we also have historical data that we're looking at year to year, especially when we start looking at some of the state measures.
You notice that in first grade, in kindergarten, we report out on letter sound fluency. In first grade, we report out on oral reading fluency. That is a bar that is higher than the state is asking us to report out on. We could report out on a lower level of skills. And we didn't do that. We reported on kind of a higher level of skills for this oral reading fluency. So in many ways, those expectations are beyond what the state is looking for at the moment. But because of our performance, we chose to report out that. So Marlene is correct. And we're looking at this regularly. We even have some different lenses on the same data that are a little bit more actionable for us than how it's reported out in this document. But that's what I would say about that.
Okay, so to read this, you're showing that our actual, flip my numbers here, but our proficiency is 86.6. Is that, did the math right? Okay, so, but you know who here comprises the 13.4, and so you're working with those kids.
Correct. And that working can be with a teacher in the classroom. It can be also with additional support as needed through our tier support system. And this document did not ask about those tiers of support at all. It only asked about our core curriculum. And we've got a lot of support.
And does this include special ed, or this is general ed, or this is everyone?
Yeah, if you look at those columns,
Oh, there we go,
every
yeah, there we go.
column
Thanks.
is
Yeah.
demographic group.
Okay.
So, and as you can see, there's nothing that's more than 3 or 4% difference between, which is one of the things they're looking for. If you have really discrepant performance, if you have really low performance and a really discrepant performance, that's what the state wants you to have. Make sure your curriculum is solid and you've got a good plan to address it. And you show neither of those things. You can see, if you look at the sample row, and the percent of students that they might expect to see on there,
Yeah.
it doesn't match any of our percentages. So,
When do you expect to hear back from them on whether they're accepting your waiver?
the last that we heard officially was prior to July 1st, so sometime in June. That's
And-
the last that we heard.
And if it were being denied, then we would have to adopt a new curriculum school year? Or,
In theory,
or not?
there was proposed legislation to
Yeah.
give more guidance and time to districts who don't get a leave, who submit a leave and get approved, but that's all in the legislative process right now. It's unclear from the current guidelines what would happen if,
It's been a moving target.
yeah.
Yeah, because as I understand the legislation, there is no, there's
Yeah,
mechanism.
I think that's getting very good, right?
Not that I'm advocating a rewrite of the law.
I am kind of an.
I am. Yeah. Okay, thank you, and I echo again, thank you the whole team for pulling this together. Pass that back to you.
Thank you.
I'm gonna take this one, read. Okay, all right, well, 10 minutes, maybe, go through this,
So make we feel bad to end the meeting early?
no, I'm gonna pop over that PNC one and see what's going on there. Anyway, we have nothing more, so I just need a motion to adjourn,
So moved.
and all in favor? Aye, thank you, everybody.